right, so I'm guessing, because you stuck around long enough with this up on the board, that you're in the right place. That's a good sign. This is the Digital Tools for Designers class. It's Architecture 135, though a lot of the engineering students also take it. It's cross-listed. That's totally okay. It is specific to design, not specific to architecture. I teach another class after this one, 136, that is more specific to architecture, though I get a lot of crossover students there as well. So we are in the spring of 2019. I'm going to screw that up. There's probably going to be some handouts that you'll get that'll still say fall because I'll mess that up. But it is what it is. We are here, and we're going to get going on our 16-week semester. So, who am I? My name is Grant Adams. I'm an associate professor of architecture here at DVC. That basically translates to I'm a part-time faculty person. That means I'm here 2 days of the week. I'm here on Mondays and I'm here on Wednesdays, and I'm not here the rest of the week. I have another job. I do other things. We'll talk about that in a second. Email, gadams@dvc.edu. That's my officially branded DVC email address. You can also reach me at grant@digitaltoolsforarchitects.com. That's the website we're going to use for the class. If you email me at the DVC email, it'll get forwarded to the Grant at Digital Tools for Architects. So it doesn't really matter which one you use. You can send me emails in either location, and I'll get them and hopefully respond to them. At least that's the idea. I put my phone number up here so you guys can call or text me. Obviously, if you call me at 2 in the morning, I'm not going to answer. If you text me at 2 in the morning, I'm probably not going to answer. I said probably there because I might be up. But you know, use it with respect. Don't spam me. Don't unnecessarily call me. But sometimes you really need to get a hold of me. I'm also going to ask you, and we'll get to this a little bit later in the slideshow, if you're going to miss class, I want you to tell me ahead of time. I give you my phone number. You can shoot me a text. It's really easy to let me know that, hey, I'm not going to be around. And that means that I'm not waiting for you to start class. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. Office hours. My office hours are generally in my office, which is right through that hallway there. It's 104B is my official office, though I'm kind of around. Likewise, if I'm here on campus, people tend to talk to me anyway. So whether it's my official office hour or not, just come talk to me. It's okay. My official office hours, however, are on Monday mornings before this class, and I do that for your convenience, even though nobody really wants to get up that early. Because I have back-to-back classes, I have a second class that starts right after this one, so I'm not free until 2:15. So I can't do it after this class. So I have one office hour before on Mondays, and I have one office hour after on Wednesdays. So I try to make it even for both my classes. If you really want to talk to me, we can talk by appointment as well, which shouldn't be too bad. So there is a course website for this class. It is digitaltoolsforarchitects.com or digitaltoolsfordesigners.com. They both go to the same place. You're going to visit the website to view your exercises and your assignments, to view important course information like the calendar, post all of your exercises, your assignments, whenever they're due. There's a bunch of tutorials, there's videos, there's lectures, there's all kinds of stuff that's in here. I've been working on this site for more than 10 years, so there's a lot of content on it. It's important for you guys to realize that it is not the Canvas system that DVC uses. So it's distinctly separate from Canvas. We won't touch Canvas in this class. Even if they say there's Canvas involved, there is no Canvas. Okay? So we do it all through this website. I think it's a lot better, but then again, I made it, so of course I think it's a lot better. So hopefully you'll get a lot more out of it. You will also comment on other students' work because everybody's posting in that forum, so you'll be able to see it. Looks kind of like this. It's an older version of it, but close enough. The course calendar is going to be on the website. I'm going to teach you next class how to subscribe to it so it will come into your phones automatically and you'll see what we're going to do and when the assignments are due and all that sort of thing. That's great because if things like smoke days happen, because apparently that's the only thing that can cancel class in California. We have smoke days, not snow days. If we have smoke days, then I can say, hey, we're going to shift the schedule around and it automatically updates for all of you. Schedule's pretty easy. It's Monday and Wednesday. You're obviously here on Monday. That's good. We're going to come back on Wednesday. Class officially starts at 7:55. I didn't make the rules, but it starts at 7:55. Generally speaking, the first hour or so 7:55 to 8:55, is when I'm going to do the lecture portion of the class. So I'll be up here talking and explaining major concepts. After that, we have 8:55 to 11 That's our lab portion of the class. That's where you're going to be actually working on the computers doing what I ask. Generally, it is a lab exercise. I have one. You guys all get the handout already today because I passed it out ahead of time. So even today, if I can pull this out, even today you'll have a lab exercise, and this will be what you're doing during that lab portion of the class. These times are not fixed because sometimes it takes me longer to talk. Sometimes it takes me less time to talk and you get more time to work. It varies day to day. So just be aware that it's not really a fixed time, but that's generally what I shoot for when I talk about it. We already talked about office hours, so we'll skip over that for right now. So this class covers primarily the Adobe suite. So Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign are the three big ones that we'll be covering. We'll spend a couple weeks on each one of those. Hopefully get you really, really well seasoned into using them. We will spend a couple weeks in AutoCAD. That is not by any means enough for you to really master AutoCAD, but my goal is for you to have enough AutoCAD so that you can move on to the other classes and get by. So we're going to talk about the things that I think are important in AutoCAD, and I'm going to teach you the basics of AutoCAD. If you really feel like you want more AutoCAD, then you should take the full semester AutoCAD class. We'll also spend time in SketchUp. How many people have worked in SketchUp before? Okay, that's about what I would expect. The funny thing is, when I first started teaching this class, I'd ask that question, and about 2 people out of the class would raise their hand. And now SketchUp's so prolific that most people have played with it before. So we will cover SketchUp, but we'll talk a lot less about actually how to model in SketchUp and a lot more about how do you get good quality renderings and results out of SketchUp, because a lot of you already have some experience modeling in SketchUp. So we'll spend time with SketchUp toward the end, and somehow my InDesign got shifted around a little bit, but we already talked InDesign. Student learning outcomes. Create digital presentations that incorporate images, text, graphics related to design. Loosely translated, that means graphic design. You're going to be exposed to graphic design in this class. Construct 2- and 3-dimensional digital representations of design elements. You got to love how they verbalize these things, right? This translates, second one translates to AutoCAD and SketchUp. No surprise. Third one, operate and manipulate images from peripherals such as scanners, printers, and digital cameras. Okay, you need to be able to print when you leave this class. I suspect you'll be able to do that. You probably can already do it. The only challenging part of printing is plotting. We will cover plotting, which is a total pain in the, as my daughter would say, pain in the tail feather. So we're going to cover that. Scanners, not so much. Digital cameras, absolutely. We'll talk about digital photography because that has a direct implication in what we're doing. So there is one required textbook for the class. If you've been in one of my classes before or have already purchased it, you don't have to buy it again. It's the Digital Tools for Architects Handbook. It's this guy right here. This is an old version of it. Essentially, this has all of the written up tutorials of the things that we do in the class, step by step, so that if you get lost, they're there. That's a good resource for you to have. I think it's available at the bookstore, but it's also available online. You won't need it right away, so it's okay if you order it online. By all means, search for coupon codes. Get money off from the publisher. It's totally fine with me. So find those and get this handbook. I suggest that you bring the handbook to class each day, because if you take your own notes in this, you will remember certain little things that helped you, tricks that helped you, or whatever. I've had students in the past who've moved on to Berkeley or whatever say, oh, I forgot how to do that clipping mask thing, and I went back to your book and I remembered all my notes, and there it was, and I could do it. So it's the kind of thing that I think is useful for you guys later on. A lot of the content in this is duplicated on the course website, so you can find it in other locations. I have videos that go along with a lot of these, so it kind of all works together, and the numbers all match up. There is a recommended textbook. It's not required, so you don't have to buy it, but there's not a lot of costs associated with this class. It's not like I'm asking you to buy a $200 chemistry textbook or something. So one of the great things about being in design classes is you get books with lots of pictures, which is always fun. This is a good one. It's really applicable only to the graphic design layout portion, so when we're in InDesign, this is the really good one. But this is kind of like the Bible for graphic design. It's really, really nice. If you want to take a look at it, I obviously have a copy. You're welcome to borrow that one. But you can also pick it up as a recommended book from Amazon or whatever. So grading. Everybody always wants to know how the grading is going to work in the class. So your grade is based on 4 primary components. The first one is your lab exercises. They're worth 20% of your overall grade for the class. Second one is your assignments. Collectively, there's probably going to be 6. Those 6 will be worth 40% of your overall grade. You've got your final portfolio, which is 30% of your overall grade. And we have your course participation, which is 10% of your grade. I try really hard in this class to have a pretty consistent workload. So if you're here, if you're working on the labs, there's always kind of an assignment that you should be spending a little bit of time on. It's even. If you've been in studio, it pulls open. Just pull. Nope, pull. Side. There you go. There you go. That way. If you guys have been in a studio class before, like 121, how many people are in 121 right now? Usually there's a lot of crossover for that too. So if you're in a studio class, there's periods where you feel like you're going to die because you have so much work to do, and there's periods where it's like, oh, I guess I can go have coffee and life is good, right? You're shaking your head like, no. I guess it depends on who teaches it. Anyway, there's generally spikes where you have these, pulling all-nighters times. In this class, I don't want you doing that. This is a companion class to those other classes. So you have an even workload. It should be fairly even. I have an expectation that you get a lot of your work done in class, so it shouldn't be overly challenging from that standpoint, from a time standpoint. So the exercise, I'm going to talk about each of these in a little bit more detail. So the exercises are something that you're going to work on during the lab portion of the class. So I told you before you have that 8:55 to 11 time slot. You're going to be working on this stuff. They're worth collectively 20% of your overall grade. It means that each one is worth about 3% of that 20%, so it's little bitty tiny pieces. The exercises are designed to be completed during the lab portion. You shouldn't have to spend extra time on them. Okay, so you should be able to finish during the lab. In some areas, sometimes it takes you a little bit longer. That's okay. I won't penalize you for that. But that's about how long they should take. They're focused on building the fundamental skills that you need. So if I'm talking about Photoshop and I'm talking about masking in Photoshop, we're going to spend the day doing masking in Photoshop, and you're going to build that skill. That being said, it doesn't matter if you do a terrible job at it. Okay? I know that sounds really silly for me to be up here telling you that, because it's a learning experience. I want you to learn how to do the mask. We'll get to the point where you have an assignment where you can prove how good you can do it. This is about learning the skill. So it's graded on a pass, not pass system. So essentially, if you do it and if you turn it in, you get 100%. That's a great grade padding number, right? So do it, turn it in, and before you know it, you do all of them, you got 20% of your grade at 100%. That's pretty good. People ask, like, do you do extra credit? No, I don't do extra credit. It's called right here. This is easy. You just have to be here, do your work, and you're going to get 100%. The cool thing also about it is that you can feel free to completely experiment and try different things with no consequences. I want you to try. I want you to learn. I want you to play around with it. I want you to get comfortable with it without fear that it's going to turn out bad. That's the point. So use that to your advantage. Assignments, however, are larger. They tend to require some work outside of class, not just in class. They're worth 40% of your overall grade. If we divide it out, it means that each assignment is worth maybe 6% of your overall grade, something like that. They're graded based on the skills that you used and the overall product, the overall design itself. How well composed is your work? So it's not just, was I able to check the boxes? Was I able to do the things that I asked to do? It's about the overall product. You also, if you're unhappy with your grade, so let's say, David, sorry, I'm going to pick on you. You're right in the front. I'm going to pick on you. Let's say you turn something in. Let's say you turn the first assignment in. It's going to be about, it's a photography assignment. You turn it in, and you get your grade back, and you're like, ooh, I didn't like that so much. Okay? Good news. In this class, you can do a regrade of that assignment. So you could say, I didn't like that so much. I'm going to do it again. And you could do it again, all the way up until the last day of the semester, though I don't recommend waiting that long. And you can turn it in to me, and you could say, this is a regrade. And I will look at it as if your old one never even existed. Okay? So it's a fresh look at it. To be fair, if David did a worse job on it, I hope not, but if you did, your grade would go down. That's fair. Chances are you did a better job on it, so your grade's going to go up. So the other thing about these, yeah, come on in. It's a squeaky door. It's okay. So the other thing about it is I won't do that regrade until the end of the semester. And I'll be honest, the reason that I don't do the regrades until the end of the semester is if at the end of the semester and you've already turned in your final portfolio and you already have an A, there's no reason for me to regrade that assignment because you already have an A. You can't get a higher A. It's just an A. Okay? So, but if you have a lower grade, I will go back and I will regrade that. I'll substitute in that regraded grade. Life is good. So, you can do this on each one of the assignments. So you could theoretically submit 6 regrades if you wanted to. People don't do that, but I'm just saying you could theoretically do that. Okay? Final portfolio. This is the final for this class. We don't sit down and have a test. I don't test you on your ability to make an Illustrator clipping mask. Nope, that's not something that we do. You are, however, going to do a final portfolio, which I think is a great way of summarizing your work. Yes, I'm aware that most portfolios now are digital. We will actually do a printed portfolio, however. You're going to make a real book. We will do the digital version as well. It is worth 30% of your overall grade. This is not something that you can do in a week. It's not something that you can do in 2 nights. This is something that takes time. The worst grades are always the people that wait till the end. So about a third of the way through the semester, I'll actually give you the official assignment. So the first third, you don't have to worry about it. But then you have a fair amount of time to start working on it. We will spend several days in class. I will lecture on portfolios kind of scattered through the class. So you will have time to think about it, to work on it, to show me. This is a great thing for you to come to me in office hours and say, hey, could you look at my portfolio? Let me kind of redline it. Let me give you some ideas, that sort of thing. So don't wait until the last minute if you want a good grade on it. It takes time to work through it. Okay? It is a project for you to do on your own. Yes, we will have a few days in class where I will actually talk about portfolio. You'll get time to work on it. But you can't finish your portfolio in those few days. This is for you. This is a test of your abilities. This is important. And like I said, I'm obviously always available to review drafts of it as we go forward. So course participation. After each exercise and each assignment, you're going to be required to give constructive feedback to your fellow classmates. We'll do this together. We don't have to do anything today. Next class, we'll sit down at the beginning and I'll walk you through how to make the comments. So you feel comfortable and that sort of thing. It is really important for you to learn how to constructively talk to people about design. Okay, you're all here in the kind of beginnings of your design career. Yes, some of you have been here a little bit longer. Some of you have taken more design classes. But it is absolutely essential that you develop the skills and the vocabulary to actually talk to somebody about how their design is succeeding or not succeeding. This doesn't mean that you say, wow, I think your project's really cool, man. No, that doesn't work, right? Or, yeah, I like that your project is blue. Doesn't help. So what I want you to do is I want you to really think about how could you help somebody. So somebody turns in a project and you say, maybe if you shifted the composition slightly to the left, it would rearrange the elements and it would bring something forward and something goes to the back. That's constructive. That's trying to help somebody be better. That's what I'm after here. So I'm asking for 3 for each exercise and 3 for each assignment. That ends up being somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 or 80 comments for the semester. That's a lot of comments. If, however, you do it like I'm going to suggest you do it, when you come in each day to class, you sit down at your computer. I usually start about 5 minutes after I'm supposed to start, so I start at about 8. Okay? Shh, don't tell anybody. I start at about 8. You come in, you get here at 7:55, right? You have a couple sips of coffee, you say, oh, I made it, that's good. You sit down, you log into your computer, you log into the course website, you write your 3 comments. You got plenty of time, you got 5 minutes for 3 comments, totally doable, totally doable. You write those 3 comments, great. You move on to the next day. Come into class, write your 3 comments. Before you know it, you got all your comments written. It's easy. If you wait and try to write 40 comments on the last night, it's not going to work. So don't let these slide. Just come in, do your comments, life is good. And I'll keep reminding you. There are some exercises where I'll say you don't need to comment. Most of them you will need to comment. The ones that I say you don't need to comment are when everybody does the exact same thing. So there's not really any point. Okay? So I'll make sure I let you know. These comments are worth 5% of your 10% participation grade. So they're half of your participation grade. Materials. You have to have a flash drive in this class. I've had people do Google Drive, or I've had people do OneDrive. I'm gonna encourage you to back up all your stuff to OneDrive, but I would rather have you have a physical drive here to work on. Be aware that these computers, a lot of you, how many people have taken a class at DVC in the computer labs before? Okay, so half of you. If you haven't taken a class, the way these computers work, they're frozen, so anything that you do on them will disappear as soon as they restart. So you can't save stuff to the desktop and expect it to be there. If the power goes out, everything goes away. So it's always a good idea to save your stuff on your flash drive. That way you're protected and you're safe. That's a good thing. Okay? So flash drive, absolutely critical. I'd say 32 gigs or larger. This used to be a big deal because they were really expensive. Truth be told, flash drives are really cheap now. So
They're on sale
no
at
big,
Best Buy.
there you go. No big deal. 32 gigs or larger. I've seen a lot of people switching over to just using hard drives. I personally use a hard drive. With the lecture recordings and stuff, it fills up pretty fast. So anyway, 32 gigs or larger, that would be your minimum, and bring it to work every day. We'll talk about backing up next lecture. I'll go off on really weird stories about people losing their data. But I'm going to tell you right now, early on, before we get to that lecture, you're responsible for your own stuff. Okay? If you leave your flash drive here and somebody takes it, it's not my fault. If you leave your flash drive in your pocket and your flash drive goes through the wash, it's not my fault. If you lose your flash drive at the gym, it's not my fault. You guys get the picture? It's your job to keep track of your stuff. And we'll tell you lots more of those kinds of stories as it goes forward. Digital camera is always a good thing to have if you're in the design field. The cool thing is we pretty much all have one on our phone now. And so when I first started teaching, it was like this big production of like you had to get a digital camera and learn how to use it, and now everybody has one on their phone that's as good or better than any of the big SLR cameras. So it is what it is. So most of you are just fine in that regard. Just bring it with you. Not that you wouldn't bring your phone with you, but bring it with you when we talk about that. So attendance. Attendance in this course is mandatory. You need to be here in order to learn. It's not an online class. Yes, we have a website. Yes, I post my lectures online. It does not mean this is an online class. You have to be here. If you're not here, that's a bad thing. The reason that you need to be here is you need to be able to say, wait a minute, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you go back and repeat that? If I'm in lecture and you're just watching it, you can't stop me and ask me to clarify. And I really like it when people ask me to clarify because sometimes I don't explain it as clear as I would like to. So by all means, let me know. Like I said, I tend to start the lecture about 5 minutes after. So that means you need to be here in your seat with the computer on and ready to go at 8. Okay? Class officially starts at 7:55. Got those 5 minutes of slush to do your comments, and then I'm going to start at 8. If you're not here with your computer on, you're late. Okay? What happens when you're late to work? Not so good, right? Don't be late. So there is a penalty if you're late. So I do take roll. We're getting to that. I do take roll every day in class. If you're late, there's a penalty for being late. That's the way life works. There's penalties. Okay? Furthermore, there is a penalty if you don't come to class. Okay? I think I'm a little bit nice in how I do it. So there's a penalty for missing class altogether. I get it. You miss class. Everybody misses a couple days of class. It happens. I've had, out of 30 of you each semester, I'd say there's less than 5 who attend every class. Okay, so I understand. You miss class. It happens. It's a college class. You're responsible for it. I get it. However, let's think about your job again. A lot of you have jobs. Some of you don't. If you decided to skip your job one day because you just didn't feel like it or you were sick or whatever, and you didn't call anybody or you didn't tell anybody, what would happen? Yeah, you'd probably get written up. What if you did it twice? Yeah. 3 times you might get fired. You know, see you around. Yeah. I expect the same courtesy here. If you're not here, even if you're like sick and barfing your guts out on the toilet, okay? We've all been there. It sucks, okay? Your phone is probably somewhere nearby. It might be a little crusty. I'm dying. Works for me. Okay? You can do that. And it's reasonable that I ask you to do that. Likewise, if I get sick, the spring semester I get sick. I don't understand. The fall semester I tend to survive. Spring semester I get sick. If I get sick and for some reason I have to cancel class, I promise you right now I will email every single one of you the moment I decide to cancel class so that you don't show up here and have me cancel class. It's fair, right? So do the same thing with me. I give you my phone number, you can text me. You can email me, that's cool. You can call me and leave me a voice message. I don't really want to have to check that, but you get the idea, okay? So if you notify me and tell me that you're gone, I give you some of those points that you lost back for missing the class, just for that notification. So I reward you for notifying me, okay? So your attendance counts for 5% of your participation grade, so 5% of your overall grade, half of your 10%. Does that make sense? Okay, one other thing about how I do your attendance. So each of you are going to pick your assigned seat next class. It's a little unfair on the first day to make you forced into that class. Okay, so I'm giving you all warning right now. If you don't like your seat, you show up early, you pick your seat, all is good. That is your assigned seat for the semester. You will always sit in that seat. It makes roll really easy for me because you're either there or you're not there. Okay? At some point during the day, and I pick this completely randomly, I will do roll. If you're here, no problem. Right? If you're not here, If you leave early, might not get credit. Right? Now, some of you are saying, well, wait a minute. I have to use the bathroom, or I need a snack, or I need some coffee. That's the most likely culprit, right? And you head out for coffee during the lab portion, and then you come back. That's cool. I'll catch you when you come back in. I would say maybe once in 3 or 4 semesters, I've had somebody say, wait a minute, I was here on that day. And we went back to the records, and yeah, okay, you're right, I missed you. Most of the time, I'm really good at keeping track of who's here and who's not. Okay? Likewise, I always see who trickles in late. They get that late penalty. Okay? So I'm generally aware of it. But it saves all of the headache of announcing everybody and who's here and I'm here and, no, we don't have to do that. Oh, I talked too long on that slide, sorry. So I do it at some random time. There we go. I do it at some random time during the class. That also means that you can't leave early, which is really important. You guys get credit for being here and in class. If you leave early, you shouldn't get the credit for it. Okay? So this class has a varying workload. Some of you are like, I'm a total expert in Photoshop. I get it. Some of you might be better than me in Photoshop. I get it. I've had a professional photographer once, and I had another student, this was a long time ago, probably in 2008, who was just really good at Photoshop. Generally, it's Photoshop that people are good at. Okay? Breezed through all the stuff that I gave them. They already took Photoshop classes and whatever. That's cool. All of you are in other classes right now. Or I would venture to say all of you are in other classes. Chances are you have homework for those other classes, especially if you're in another architecture class, like a studio class, like 121 or 220 or something. You can work on that. So I'm not asking that you sit here and fall asleep. Be productive. Use that extra time. You will find, for those of you that are in 121 or 220 or one of the other design classes, even 120, if you're working on your project, you might come across questions and want to ask me something. That's okay. Okay? Just because you're here, you can still ask me questions. Okay? So you have to be here. You can't leave class early, and that's how I do roll. General guidelines. Students who miss 2 weeks of class or more may be withdrawn from the class at my discretion. Okay, so in rare cases, we have people, I talk to them and we try to work through it. Truth is, if you miss 2 weeks of class, that's 4 class days, you're probably not going to do that well anyway. Okay? You need to let me know before the start of class whether you're going to be there or not, or you don't have to let me know that you're going to be there, but if you're not going to be there, you need to let me know ahead of time. That also helps because I won't wait around. The worst thing is to have 3 or 4 people trickle in halfway through my lecture, and then they miss the first half so they don't understand what's going on, and then they sit down to do the lab portion and they have no idea how to do the lab, and so I have to sit with all of them and reteach all the stuff that I already taught. And it's not fair to the rest of you who were here because you might have real legitimate questions. That makes sense? So you just need to be here, don't trickle in late. If you haven't done assignments, guess what? You're not going to do well in the class. No surprise. Right? All of this stuff is obvious. Okay? I'll skip forward. This is my last thing, and I apologize for some of the doom and gloom speech, but I have to give it on the first day because I want you to be aware of this kind of stuff. Okay? This is fundamentally a college class. It's not high school anymore. You don't have to ask me to go to the bathroom. I don't care if you have to go to the bathroom. If you have to go to the bathroom, go. That's cool. I'm not gonna, hold your hand. Trust me. I have an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 4-month-old. I don't need to hold any of your hands. I've got plenty of hands to hold. Okay? So, this is a college class. You're responsible for yourself. If you don't feel like you're doing well in the class and you want out, withdraw yourself. If you're in this category who have missed 2 weeks and you think you're not going to do well, withdraw yourself. Don't rely on me to withdraw you. Okay? Truth be told, and this is don't tell the other faculty because there's a culture of like hand holding at DVC. I don't agree with it. I would far rather fail you. And I'm not doing that to be mean, but I want you to learn that you have to be responsible. I can promise you right now that when you guys go on to Berkeley, you go on to Cal Poly, there is not going to be somebody that will hold your hand and withdraw you because, I think you're going to get a D, so I'm going to withdraw you. No, I'd be like, screw you, right? F. See you later, right? This is small. It's intimate. You're at Berkeley, you're in a class of 200, 250 people. Do you think they care about those couple people? No, not at all. So you might as well get used to the fact that it's a college class. Be responsible for yourself. I'm not trying to scare you, right? Chances are all of you are going to do great. I rarely have any issues where people do this because I give you this speech at the beginning. Okay? So, it's a college class. Be responsible for yourself. Withdraw yourself if you don't feel like you're doing well. No worries. I will try as the semester goes on, when we get close to that withdraw date, to kind of nudge those of you that aren't doing that well to say, hey, you might want to think about this. Okay? All the assignment due dates, I'll announce them. You guys will know. You'll have notice. It's very rare that I would do anything too close together. I think the closest an assignment might be given a week or one class more than a week from when it's due. So you always have some time to kind of work through. Likewise, there's always going to be a weekend in there. So I try to make it reasonable. Assignments are always due at the start of lecture. That means before I start talking, you have to have turned them in. If you turn them in while I'm talking, number one, you're not paying attention to what I'm talking about, which is a problem. And number two, you're missing key stuff. So it needs to be done before I start talking. Okay? If it's not, it's going to be late. We'll talk about late work in just a second. Exercises are due at 11, though this is fairly loose. I say late work policy applies. Not really. Okay? Chances are, as you go through the semester, that each and every one of you will probably forget to post one of the exercises. It happens. You got busy, you had to run to your physics class, you didn't have time to post it, and then you forgot to post it. No worries. No worries. I'll just ask you to post it, and you'll get credit for it. Not overly worried about it. They're supposed to be done and due at 11. Remember, it's a pass, not pass thing. Even if it's not very good looking, you can still turn it in and still get 100% because it's due at 11. Okay? If you need a little more time, that's fine. Just post it later in the day. I'm cool with that. Assignments, however, there is a late work policy on it. And I think it's very strict, and it's strict for a reason. If, for example, you were working on a project and you needed to go before a design review board or planning commission, there's a due date for when you have to turn your drawings in. That due date isn't a loose time. It's a set time. You want to be on the agenda, you want to go before the design review, you have your drawings in by 4 o'clock on this date. You don't have them in, you don't go before the planning commission. It's real easy. That's the way our industry works. Therefore, same thing applies here. It's due, turn it in. If it's not, you drop one letter grade for each class it's late. So we had something due today. We didn't. Don't worry. Don't panic. If we had something due today and you didn't turn it in and you turned it in before class started on Wednesday, you'd go, let's say you had an A on it, for example, you go from an A to a B. Next class, it's late, you go from a B to a C. You get the idea? So 10%. After 4 class days late, obviously that's a bad thing, I cap it at 50%. So if you turn it in, you'll get 50%. That's it. Okay? If you turn something in late and you drop that 10% and you do a regrade on it, you can't make up for the late penalty. So late penalty stays no matter what. So if you guys are all thinking right now, you're saying, wait a minute, there's a strategy here. So I'm going to tell you the strategy. Don't tell anybody. Okay? Is it better to turn in something that's not so good on time and do a regrade, or to be late and turn in something better?
Regrade.
Regrade, right? So turn it in on time and then do a regrade, but don't tell anybody. Okay? So it's really important, though, turn stuff in on time. I'm trying to reward you for doing that. Please, please turn stuff in on time. Other general guidelines. Okay, so there's 32 of you in all likelihood, and there's 1 of me. I try really hard to talk to every one of you. Everybody that has a question, that's great. I want to come around. I want to sit with you. I want to help you, etc. But the ratio is a little challenging, right? So for me to get to all of you, it takes time. So the worst thing that you can do is, I'm stuck. I can't do the clipping mask. Right? That's the worst thing you can possibly do, because it just wastes everybody's time. So don't do that. Lean over to your neighbor and say, hey, I'm stuck. Do you know how to do this? Right? Chances are somebody might know. If they don't know, try Google. Try one of the tutorials online. Right? I write up all this stuff. Watch my lecture from last semester, because this semester hasn't been posted yet. They're all there to get you unstuck. It doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you, but there are times where I look out and there's 20 hands up of 30 hands. Right? I can only do so much. I try my best. Right? Likewise, I try to make sure that I don't just stay with one person the whole time. Right? I try to make sure, if you've asked me several questions already, I try to skip over you and make sure I get to people that haven't asked questions. That's just fair. And I try my best in this. So please look at the other resources that are available to help yourself out. Don't just sit there stuck. Okay? I strongly suggest you take notes in the book. That way you have them when you go forward, and it can remind you. I also try really hard to record every lecture that I do. Most of the time it works. Every once in a while, something happens, the computer crashes, it doesn't record correctly, the audio's gone, whatever. It happens, okay? I post them all on YouTube, usually the same day. Sometimes it takes me a little longer. It depends on how many questions you have and that sort of thing. So they are all there. All the previous semesters are there. The lecture pages, which I'll show you on the website, contain links to all the previous semesters. So if the one that you have didn't work, or it's not posted yet or whatever, watch the one from last semester. It's close. It's the same general topic. It's probably a little bit different. I probably changed a few things, but you get the gist of what I'm talking about. For you guys in 135, everything starts in the 100s. So your exercises are 101, 102, 103. Your lectures are 101, 102, 103. Your assignments are 101, 102, 103. Okay? So you're looking for that. If you're in my 136 class, that's all in the 200s. And I do that to make it easy so you can really quickly see where you are on a given day. Watching the recordings is obviously not the same as being in class, because if you're in class, you can stop me and have me repeat it. Some people do like the lectures, or they like to pull up the lectures because they like to watch 30 seconds, pause, and do it. And then come back, watch 30 seconds, pause, and do it. That's totally okay. If you're going to do that, bring a set of headphones, because then you can listen as well. So it's fair game. That's why I do it. I try very hard to give you the content in every possible way that I can give it to you. I give it written. I give it through the lecture recordings. I try to make sure that you get it somehow, because I really want you to learn this stuff. That's the important thing. Creative Commons. This is a side note. It's never been an issue, but I have to put that up there. Basically, everything you do in the class is shared among everybody. So there's no privacy rights. There's no copyright stuff, right? You don't own anything. We're just all sharing and learning together. Make sense? If you really have issues, we can talk about it. But generally speaking, that's how we roll. So let's look at some student work from previous semesters. It's always fun to kind of see what you're in for. Some of you probably have friends that have talked about what the class is, so you're probably already a little bit aware. We start in the world of photography. We talk a lot about composition, but we also talk a lot about post-processing techniques so that you can get good, rich, quality images from your cameras. That is also a key thing moving into the collage area. We'll get to the collages in just a second. But the whole idea of composition is really important. So thinking about how the world looks and what makes something a good picture. What are the nuggets that make it stand out versus all the rest of the pictures? And so we'll get into advanced photo editing with masking. We'll talk about combining photos together that don't really belong together. Sometimes they end up a little creepy. That's okay. Sometimes they're a little more artistic than others. And again, I'm just flipping through. And some of them are just plain fun and silly. But we'll talk about how to do that so you feel really comfortable doing that and bending the reality a little bit. We'll talk a lot about graphic design. We'll talk a lot about typography, font choice, hierarchy, and how do you lay out posters, boards, basically graphic design techniques. I'm not spending a lot of time on these. I'm just flipping so that you can see. We'll get into CAD and drafting. Like I said, I tend to concentrate a lot on the skills that I don't think you get in a regular AutoCAD class. So what do I think you really need to know moving forward? So we'll do a lot about layouts, and we'll do a lot about kind of creating drawings, fonts, etc. 3D modeling and ultimately collage. These are all SketchUp models that have been collaged with backgrounds. We'll do all the major views. The section, plan, perspective, and elevation views. And we'll talk about how do you blend something into a particular scene? How do you make it feel like it belongs in a scene versus sitting on top of a scene? How do you collage in people? How do you make people feel like they belong in a scene, etc. So I'll end with this slide before we get into our exercise for today. And I think one of the things that's really fun about this class, I mean, I've been here and I've taught this class, this is my 22nd semester teaching it, I think, something like that. So I've been here a long time, and every semester is different. Every semester, you guys come in here and you're a different group, you have a different dynamic, you have different interests, and it's really fun for me to see the kinds of stuff you do and the different things you bring to the table because it's always different. And so part of being able to do this semester after semester is really getting to know all of you and seeing what it is you create out of this stuff. And that's really enjoyable for me. So we're going to take a quick break here. And we'll say 5 minutes or so. It's 8:55. Look at that, right on my 1 hour mark. That's probably the only time this semester it'll be right on, okay? So let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at 9 and we'll work through all of the exercise. And then you guys will be free to go early today, okay? Okay, so we're going to get going again with the exercise portion, the lab portion of the class. Today is pretty easy, pretty light on the lab portion, but we're gonna start with this handout, and I'm gonna walk you through it. In part 1, I want to make sure that everybody has their registration taken care of for the course website. You should, for those of you that are actually enrolled in the class, you should have received an email from the Digital Tools site with a temporary password and your account. If you haven't gotten that email, check your spam folder because it could have gone there. And if you still don't have it, this is, by the way, your Insight email. That was the email that or it's whatever your preferred email is through the Insight system. So most of you, it was the Insight email. That's the email that I used. If you go to digitaltoolsforarchitects.com, you can click on the login button that's on the far right side here. And when you click on that, you'll get this screen asking for your username or email address and your password, which was automatically generated for you. I'm going to show you how to change that to a different password so that you can potentially remember it or whatever. This would be your Insight email. If you didn't get the email, however, you can click on the Lost Your Password link, and it will send you a new email with a new password. So you should be good. If you're still struggling, that's okay. We've got time. We'll make sure that you get in and get everything situated. I'm the administrator, so ultimately I can do anything I want. So we will make sure that I get you. For those of you that are on the wait list and want in the class, obviously I haven't done this for you because I didn't know who you were yet. So I will do that after I finish talking to everybody else, and then you'll get your email and can proceed from there. So once you're logged into the site, the black bar across the top here will appear. That's an indicator that you're actually logged into the site. The course website is built on WordPress, which is an online content management system. It's pretty easy. I think people generally get the hang of it rather quickly. It usually takes maybe 1 or 2 days, and then they get it. So if it feels a little bit challenging for you, don't worry. We'll get through it. I can help you with the first couple posts, and then all of a sudden it'll seem really, really pretty easy. So there is a fair amount of content that's available just wide open. There is other content that you need to make sure you're logged in for. So for you guys, I would always recommend when you go to the site, first thing to do is log in. Then you have access to everything. Otherwise, you'll get a little link when stuff is blocked out saying log in, and you'll have to do it at that point. So a little bit about the course website and the navigation of the course website. The About tab has stuff for you guys relating to like the syllabus and whatever. So you guys are going to be working in the Digital Tools for Designers or Archie 135 category. So if I come down under the About menu and I go here, there's the course syllabus, there's a course calendar, and there are the calendar feeds. We'll talk about the calendar and the calendar feeds next class, so don't be overly worried about it. In all honesty, I haven't done the calendar yet, so there's not really anything here. But I will do it before next class. But if you wanted, for example, to see the syllabus, you could log in, go to the syllabus, and this is all the information that is on the paper syllabus that I gave you. The other thing that I do is I don't keep copies more than the day. So if you miss a day and you don't get a handout and you want a handout, go to the website. At the very bottom of all these pages, there is always the download a PDF of the course syllabus. So if you didn't get a syllabus and you wanted a new one, or you lost yours, you can go there, click on it, and download it. Okay? So just be aware that exists on these as well. If we move over into the next tab, this is the Lectures tab. You guys are again in the Digital Tools for Designers, Archie 135. You are in the spring of 2019, so that's what you're going to click on, and that will take you to the Lectures page. There is currently only one lecture available, so it's Lecture 101. There is also a link here to the course YouTube playlist, so you can go to YouTube and see all the lectures there. I try to keep them organized so that you can view them there as well. If you click on the actual lecture, so in here, Lecture 101, this will, now of course all of you are doing this, so it's going to slow down. This will bring up Lecture 101. Ultimately, the recording will be here. Obviously, you see here it says the recording is not available yet. So it will replace it with the actual video so you can watch it there. There'll be a link to it here as well. And you can see that there are previous course introductions. Not that you would want to go back and watch me introduce the course again, but it is part of the package, so you could do it if you really wanted to. So these are previous semesters. You can see that there are semesters that are scratched out because the recording didn't work. It happens, but they're all there. The other thing down here are lecture downloads. So if you wanted a PDF of the slides that I showed in a given lecture, you can click on that and download it. I give 2 versions. One is just 1 slide per page. The other one is 4 slides per page. So save a little bit of paper if you wanted to print them out. So they're there, and you can download them. The end of all the lecture pages will have those links. So if you want the slides, or sometimes, and actually this is the truth about the projector. Sometimes the projector just doesn't show the stuff very well, and you want to see it on your own screen. That's okay. You could click on the link and see the slides and say, oh, that's what he was talking about, because I can't see it on the projector. It is what it is. We're stuck in this room. The lighting is what it is. I do the best I can. So those are available to download if you want them. And sometimes I have other little links and whatever that are relevant to what it is that we're talking about. So that's the Lectures tab. I have other lectures that I've done that are there as well, so if you wanted to see any of those, you can. Moving on, the next tab here is the Tutorials tab. This is where information about things that we're doing shows up. So for example, in Photoshop, when we get to our beginning Photoshop stuff, Photoshop 1.2 here, I'll pick this one as an example. This is a levels tutorial. Like I said, all of you are on it right now, so it's going to be a little slow. This one here, right, gives us step-by-step information. It also has images to help you out. And at the very bottom, it has a PDF link. So same kind of thing. This one also has a video that goes along with it that I did several years ago. And so you could watch just, this is how you do this one particular skill. So this exists for obviously lots of the software packages. There's lots and lots of tutorials. That's what makes up the book. So there's plenty of content there as well. The same website and all the same information is available for my 136 students as you guys at 135. Likewise, if you end up taking 136 next semester or you're in 136 this semester, it's all the same. So Rhino, V-Ray, they're all in there as well. Next thing, moving on, under exercises here, again, we're in the Digital Tools for Designers. It's spring of 2019. And this will bring up a very similar looking page. There it is. There's exercise 101. If we click on exercise 101, there it is. This is the text or the web version of the handout that you got, the 101 handout. So you see I duplicate. Likewise, at the very end, there's the PDF. So if you missed it, you could download it, print it if you wanted, etc. Every semester, I'm tempted to go completely paperless, and I haven't quite gotten there yet. I ask everybody at the end of the semester whether you think it would be okay if I went completely paperless when I do a survey, and it's always about 50-50. People want this copy still. So anyway, I still give you the copies. But all the text is there, so you can go ahead and go through. The advantage here is I try to link stuff. So when there's links, you can actually just click on the links as opposed to having to type them in. So it's all there. So that's exercise 101. Assignments, it's actually not. Spring 2019 isn't even listed yet because you haven't had an assignment. So there's nothing there quite yet. Resources, these are things that I think will help you. You'll use them extensively in the 136 class because you've got V-Ray materials and whatever. But there's a few things that are relevant to this class that are there should you want any of it. The next tab over here is student work. This is where your work will show up. So for example, we can go into Digital Tools for Designers, we can go into Exercises, and we can choose Exercise 101. That's the one we're doing right now. And you can see student work for things that people have done in previous semesters. All right, so there's all the posts from a previous semester. Yours, when you start posting, will be added to this list. Yours will appear first, so they're reverse chronological. As you start to post, they'll fill in there as well. So obviously, under student work, there's lots of exercises. There's lots of assignments. This is also how you'll end up finding things to comment on. So I'll walk you through that next class, though. Okay? And the last thing was the login, which I already talked to you about. So once you've logged in, you get this black bar across the top of the page. And we can go from the front of the website to the back of the website, where we're going to end up making our posts and that sort of thing. So if we click right up here, under Digital Tools for Designers and Architects, there's a link to the dashboard. And that will take you to the back end of the website rather than the front end of the website. This particular account, this is my student-like account. It's not my administrator account, so it should look fairly close to what you see. And this gives you a little bit of an at-a-glance summary. We're going to be dealing primarily with posts and also with your profile. So the first thing I'll do is come down here to your profile and click on Profile. And this is where it contains information about yourself. Most of the upper stuff here doesn't really matter. But when I come down here, a couple things might be relevant. So you've got your username. That's blocked out because I created that for you on your account. But you don't have a first name and a last name in all likelihood. It's nice if you put that in. It makes it easy to find you. Okay? And you can choose how you're displayed publicly when it comes to your post and whatever. And your email, I think you might be able to change. Yeah, it looks like you can change your email. So if you don't like your Insight email and you want to change it to your other email, that's okay with me. It doesn't make any difference what it is. I just had your Insight email, so that's how you got the account in the first place. If you have actual websites, we'll talk about LinkedIn. You can fill that stuff out a little bit later on. Likewise with the picture, we'll talk about that next class. If you want to change your password, you will click on the Generate Password link, and then you can actually select it and type in, my dog 123 or whatever. Okay. Obviously, that's a bad password. I will spend time next class talking about passwords and how you shouldn't use passwords like that. But in the meantime, you can change it to that. And then once you're done, sometimes when it's a really bad, weak password, you have to confirm that you want to use a really weak password before you say OK. I'm going to cancel that because obviously I don't want to change my password right now. And then you go ahead and click on Update Profile. Likewise, if you want to stick with the random password that it emailed you, that's OK too. And you can work with that as well. So then we're going to move on into the Posts category. So we dealt with Profile first. We're going to come up to Posts. And right now, if I were to click on All Posts, or if you were to click on All Posts, you wouldn't have anything because you haven't created a post yet. We'll go ahead and go to the Add New. You could also get to the new post from the black bar at the top and go directly to New Post. And like I said, all of you are doing this right now, so it's a little slower. See if we can crash the website, right? I usually have these already brought up, so I don't have to wait, but I apologize. OK, so this is your Add a New Post little dialog box here. It's pretty easy. So at the top here, under the Add Post, you're going to need to type in the title to the post. So in this case, it would be Exercise 101. And we'll say this is by me, for example. You can title it something different if you want. I see all of your accounts, and I see all of your posts tied to your accounts. So you don't have to include your name, and I'm still going to know it's yours. It's nice for your friends to be able to know who you are and put your name in there. So there's nothing wrong with that and doing it. So once I have the title here, I'm going to move down into the content section down here. And so this is a what you see is what you get editor. It's kind of like using Word. So as I type stuff in here, it's going to show up in my post. Pretty easy to work with. There are tools in here, like your alignment tools, your bold and your italics and stuff that you can use, just like you can use in Word. So it's pretty easy. So what I'm going to ask you to do in part 2 is I'm going to ask you to find some kind of an architecture or design related article online, something that you think is interesting, and you're going to write a little summary about it and make a post. It doesn't matter what it is. I would prefer that it be design related, however. If you're interested in industrial design, pick something in industrial design. If you're interested in architectural design, pick something in architectural design. So for example, I could go to the ArcDaily website. Unless I spelled it wrong. There it is. I did spell it right. Just being slow. And so let's say that I liked whatever this particular house was. There it is. And I like this for some reason. I could read about it, and then write a little summary of this. And let me go ahead and download one of the images from it, too. All right, that's good. Let me save this image. Of course it's going to make me do that, right? Let me see if I can just find an image. Best thing to do would be to do a Creative Commons search for this, but I bet it's not there. So search.creativecommons.org. The advantage of this search is you're allowed to use the images for whatever you want, which is nice with an attribution. And I don't know whether this will be in here, but we'll give it a shot. Nope, doesn't look like it's there. So we can do it here. Okay, so this one has some of the images here. There's an image. Go ahead and visit it. Let's see if I can copy this image. Save image as. There we go. I'm just going to put it on the desktop for right now. There we go. Actually, I like this image better, so I'm going to save this image. And we'll save it there. OK, so I would spend a little bit of time. You have time today. There's no rush. Read about it, right? So this is a private summer house, et cetera, who the architects are, et cetera. And you're going to write a little summary about it. And you guys don't need to sit here and watch me write a summary. But let me get to my post here. So this was the summer house. Actually, let me just say this is the summer house. And, you know, this house uses obviously I can't spell, so we'll fix those things. There we go. Blah, 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 right? You obviously wouldn't write that. You would write the full summary. Then I might say, to view more of this house, and I'll put the link to the house. So here it is. I like it. Let me copy this link. So Control-C to copy the link. I could also right-click and say copy. I'll come back to my post, and I'll go ahead and paste this. There it is. But I want to make this a clickable link. So I will select it, and then come up here to the little chains. Click on that, and it makes it a link. And I'll go ahead and apply. That means somebody could click on it and go to that website. You have more features. Like, for example, I could take this, and I could add a bullet point in front of it if I wanted to. So it works like Word. You should all be fairly familiar with it. So a couple other things about it. Number one, you will not be able to publish your post until it has what's called a featured image. So on this one, it's a little challenging because you have to find an image. But generally, your featured image is whatever you did for the class. So it's pretty easy. So to add that featured image, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. And on the right side here, there's something called featured image. I'll click on the set featured image. And when I do that, I'm going to go ahead and pick a featured image. This will load up previous images that you've uploaded. But I actually want to upload a new one, so I'm going to click on Upload Files here. And I can drag and drop, or I can click on Select Files and go to my desktop and pick the image. And there it is. Like I said, it's loading previous images that I've uploaded before. Once it's done uploading, come on, finish up. There we go. It generated its preview, and I'm going to go ahead and click on the Set Featured Image button down here at the bottom. And when I do that, the image will show up here as the featured image. If I scroll back up to the top, you see that that warning went away because I made my featured image, so we're good. That's basically a way of me reminding you that you have to actually post something in your post, as opposed to just a little bit of text. So you have to do a featured image. That's part of it. The last piece of the puzzle before I actually publish, which is kind of like turning in your work, is I need to scroll down here, and under the Categories section, I need to make sure that it gets categorized correctly. So I'm going to come down here. We're in the Digital Tools for Designers 135. It is not an assignment, it is an exercise, and it's exercise 101. So I check those little boxes. That makes it categorized correctly. And it also means that it will show up in the student work where it needs to show up. So I've done that. I've checked my boxes. I'll scroll back up to the top, and I'll click Publish. Publishing is like turning in your work. The nice thing, though, is if you change your mind and want to change something, or you found a mistake, you can go back and you can edit the post later on. Okay? I, as an administrator, can see when you actually turned it in. I can also see when you did any edits to it. So I'll go ahead and click on Publish. and it will then publish my post. Once this post has been published, I can click on the View Post button here, and I can see there you go, that it was actually posted. It has the nice image, it has my little summary, it has a little link. That's pretty good. If I wanted to edit this post, I can come up to my black bar and I can click on Edit Post, and it'll take me back to the editor, and I can update the post from there. Furthermore, if I went to the Student Work section and I went to Digital Tools for Designers and Exercises and Exercise 101, this post that I just made would show up right there, because it's the most recent Exercise 101 post. So there it is, and that would be how you would create your first post. If you wanted to see all of your posts, you can go back to your dashboard. You can go to Posts and say All Posts. And again, I'll have more because obviously I've made posts many times. And when I'm logged in here, I can see all the posts that I've ever done. You can see how many times people have viewed the posts, for example. So you can see statistics about your particular post, etc. Okay? So that's how you're going to make your first post. That's what I'm going to ask you to do in your part 2. And make sure that you categorize it correctly. That's important. And if you run into trouble, that's why I'm here. We're going to make sure that we get through it. For those of you who want in the class, I have your emails. I will set up your accounts right now. And then we'll meet after class and try to figure out how to randomly select who gets in and who doesn't. I wish there was a wait list because it makes my life a lot easier that way. I will also go through and check on who, how many people are in the class, see if anybody didn't show up, and see if I can get some extra people in. We'll go from there. For those of you that aren't in the class yet, when somebody finishes today with their post, you can just jump onto their computer and do the post for today. I would encourage you, if you want in the class, to just keep coming and keep doing the posts, and hopefully we can get you in. Okay? That make sense, everybody? Yeah? All right. So if you have trouble, if you're having trouble with your account, if you're having trouble getting that email or whatever, let me know, and then we'll go from there. Are there any global questions? No? All right. I'll turn you loose. Remember today that you guys are free to go after you've made your post. Next class, bring your flash drive. You're going to need it because we'll actually start doing real work. Okay?